Okay, usually I show you the cover of the book that I'm reviewing. In this case, this is not possible because this is a gift from the author, and so I don't really have a book. I have a kind of printout. But we are using a chess set from 1851 called Harwitz. You may have noticed that there is a kind of a king stamp upon the knight and the rook. There is the same king stamp on the rook and the knight for black because in the time there was the descriptive notation, so the king knight and the king rook are clearly identified. The book we are talking about, it's a book by Cyrus Lakdawala that delves into Gukesh, the latest world challenger, but maybe by the moment you see this video could become the world champion. Probably the youngest world champion, since he won the candidate at 17 and now I think he is 18. The book starts with showing the results of Gukesh against the world champions. We must notice, in my opinion, that today this young generation has luck in the fact that they can actually play world champion on and off the board. What does it mean off the board? Online. Because there are also a lot of tournaments online where people play with top grandmasters. So the first game was played against Magnus Carlsen, and I cannot see when it was played. It doesn't say. Gukesh was white and he plays e4. Magnus Carlsen plays e6. Eventually, after, we will discover what year was this game from. The point is, I also wanted to know a little more about Gukesh because honestly I don't have the time to follow the chess scene, work long hours, and unfortunately I just see the chess news, but I don't really know what is the style of this young and exceptional chess player. d4, d5, usual. It seems that Magnus doesn't play the French often, and it makes sense because I think he should play the Sicilian, right? The Sicilian is kind of much more tactical and so on, but of course, since everybody is playing, everybody has 24 hours a day now, it makes sense that Magnus tries to change his opening repertoire to try to surprise the opponent. Knight c3, knight f6, e5, knight fd7, f4 and c5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop e3 and a6. So this is black's most popular line in the classical French. Now it follows with queen d2. This queen d2 would make you think that white wants to castle on the queen side, but there is a problem. As you can see, black is ready, so white cannot really castle on the queen side because black has already an incredible advance on the side. And in fact it continues with b5, so that would tell you that to castle on there it's kind of killing yourself. d takes c5, bishop takes c5, and bishop takes e5. With this swap, white secures the superior remaining bishop. What does this mean? Generally, in the French, this bishop is the bad bishop that you want to exchange. Okay? This bishop for white is the good one because he has more squares. And so that's the reason of this remark. Okay? Knight takes c5. Bishop d3. And obviously it doesn't make sense, this move, because as we just said, this should be the good bishop, so why would you put it there? It seems the main line in this line, if you accept the pawn, is queen f2. Okay? So, but in the game, Gukesh played bishop d3, queen b6, clearly aiming at this, and queen f2. So now we understand why queen f2 is played, because you cannot really give a discovery check if the queen is in f2 and white castle on the king side. Before knight e2, e5. As you can see, black is very active. I mean, this is not the typical French. We said that this is the bad bishop. I'm sorry, at this point is not anymore, because he can play bishop a6. So it looks like to me like this is a line that is made by a computer, because only a computer can so easily break through stuff. It's amazing what a computer can do. So, I don't know, maybe Carlsen, like every top GM of this period, prepared this line thanks to an engine, because as you can see, I tell you, he has solved all the problems. He has solved all the problems for black, right? So, in this sense, to play the French makes sense. Okay, after a5, white plays castle. It would be crazy for white to castle queenside, since black already has a head start in the attacking race. Yeah, that makes sense. Bishop a6, like I told you. Black want to exchange the so-called bad bishop for the good one, right? And here we are still in theory, by the way, because the author of the book, Cyrus Lakdawala, says that king h1 is white main line, but white doesn't play that move. What does white play? White plays f5, boom. This is an amazing move. You know why? And here it says, Gukesh boldly offers to sacrifice a pawn to accelerate his kingside initiative. The idea is sound, yet soon goes horribly wrong. So yeah, we like we said many times, or like you have surely heard, they say they all play the opening as a grandmaster, the middle game as a 1500 player, and the end game like I don't know, a beginner. And this probably is going to be the case. Let's see what happens in this game, okay? He takes f5. So why this sacrifice of this move is so good? Because generally, in the French, if you are able to eliminate this, you have this kind of central mass of pawns that will go through and it becomes amazing. But now, you have this that is an isolated queen pawn. The enemy king is still in the center. I don't know, it doesn't seem that black has a good position. But let's see, however, what happens, okay? After e takes f5, white plays knight f4. If you can, please pause the video and try to find out why bishop takes f5 is a very bad move. Okay, so if you pause the video and now you're finally ready to see why bishop takes f5 is a bad move, let me show it to you. Okay, after bishop takes f5 there is bishop takes e2, okay, queen takes e2, right? But again, now there is a problem, right? That's why king h1 is the main line, because now you have g6, bishop h3, and knight b3, check, and taking up that rook there, right? So probably in a blitz game maybe could be very easy to fall for that. In a long time control game probably a little more different. Let me put the position back as it was. Okay, I put the position back as it was before we saw why after e takes e5 is not a good idea for white to take back with the bishop, while it's important instead to play this knight f4. Now I want to share with you, because everybody of you is interested in chess improvement. When I put the position back, I don't use the diagram, I really put the pieces back in their initial place and I play the game again from the beginning. Why? Because I also know how to play the French. I try to remember this line because it could happen in one of my games. I don't really play the French often, but I can enter into it from a kind of transposition from d4. For example, 1d4, e6, and then if white plays e4, then you play d5 and you have the French. Now, in the game, Gukesh played knight f4 instead, obviously, of a big blunder bishop takes f5, okay? Black continue with knight e7, and of course at this point you need to break through in some ways, and white did it with e6. Now also as black you have to make a decision, and there are many decisions to do, right? F takes e6, I don't know, not so good maybe, right? Castle, because so if he takes you have rook takes f7. I don't know. In the game Carlsen played f6, and it seems here we have a fourth novelty. So we are at move 18 moves of fury, and we have a novelty. Okay, the right move is rook a d1, but Gukesh played rook a c1. Obviously the idea is to play this, right, at a certain point. So let's see what happens in the game. Castle, c3, yes. This attempted remedy only intensify white's pain. Maybe it was better to play h4 and start the attack on the king side. However, in the game Gukesh played c3, and now what would black play? Notice that this is kind of pinned because this is not protected. So probably black needs to find a solution to that problem. And in the game, black, Magnus Carlsen played queen d6. Okay. Now obviously the threat is queen takes f4 or knight takes d3, because remember that there is also this. So white continued with bishop takes a6, rook takes a6, c takes b4, and knight e4. Obviously knight e4, it's an interesting move because now black has a very strong outpost and it will be difficult to remove that knight from that outpost, right? So let's see how the game continues and how Gukesh is able to deal with that knight. Queen e3, a takes b4, and here there is a diagram in the book which makes you think that the author wants to tell you something, right? Here it says Carlsen achieved a winning position. Why? And here it gives four different reasons. So that's why I like Lakdawala books, because it doesn't tell you, oh, black is winning, and it lets you figure it out why or not. Here it gives you some reason. For example, this pawn a2 is hanging, it's not protected, right? Black is also threatening g5, okay, which would be followed by queen takes e6 because the knight cannot stay there. And then of course there is a positional advantage in having this knight, which is a knight on an outpost in the enemy territory. A last advantage, Lakdawala says black is up a pawn with a potential for more white pawns to fall. So that's what his reasoning rationale is for saying, hey, black is winning, okay? Now, the thing is, I'm sorry, black is winning at this 2800 level, maybe at Lakdawala level, that is international master which who has grandmaster norms, I think, but at club player level we don't know, right? Because at club player level you can always count that white or black will do a mistake and damage the winning advantage. So how did white continue after a takes b4? He continued with knight d4. And now black continues with rook takes a2. And here the comment is not good. Gukesh is down 2 pawns against the highest ranked player in the world. And maybe at this point I think in history, right? Because Carlsen was the highest ranked player in history. At this point it appeared as if the Indian prodigy was getting blown out. No? But instead of rook takes a2, it was better to play g5, okay? And here in the book it's given a line which justify why. A line, by the way, that it's about 7 moves long, so the point is, I'm sorry, but with 7 moves I doubt that Carlsen or Gukesh would see that kind of far, okay? However, when you will have a book, you will be able to see that line. Let's see how the game continues. Knight b5, queen e5. Also here there is a better move that it says queen b8, and in about 6 moves it's proven that white is losing. again another line, so it gives lines that are aimed to explain why. Rook c7, wow, and this it's interesting because it's clearly occupying the 7th rank, which we know it's a very important positional idea and advantage. Now, black at this point could have played the right move, that was knight g6, but he didn't find it, and instead he played rook e8. Rook e8, it's a blunder. And here, Lakdawala, like in most of his books of the series Move by Move that he made with Everyman Chess, I think, give you an exercise. It says, exercise planning. When we turn our win into a loss with a horrible blunder, blah blah blah, okay. How did white exploit black's last move blunder? So, this is a blunder. How does white exploit it? Okay? So you have to pause the video if you want to improve in chess and think what you would play as white. Okay? The correct move is queen b6. Why queen b6? Well, because there is practically a line that is made by rook takes c7 and then queen d8. Okay, so just watch the idea. Tack, tack, you take back, but dang, and your king cannot escape, and so when you do this there is a checkmate, right? So that's the reason why queen b6 is the best move and rook e8 was a blunder. Now, how does black continue here? And here, in fact, in the book are given two lines, king h8 and d4. But in the game, knight g5 was played. So let's see, for example, d4. Because I think at least we can see, for example, king h8 is not good because of this move. And you say, what does it mean? Well, the queen is trapped. I don't know if you notice. This is controlled by a knight, this is controlled by a knight, this is controlled by a pawn, this is attack, cannot go here, cannot go here, cannot go here. So you understand, there is a problem, right? So, king h8, not the right move. You need to play something that frees the queen, and in this case this d4 seems the move, but like I said, there is a problem, right? Because white takes rook takes e7 and it cannot be touched. Okay, so the move that Carson found in the game and played in the game was knight g5. Okay, again white continues with rook e7, take e7, no, and once more, again, you cannot touch that rook, right? Because if you touch it, you are going to lose. So how does black continue? Black plays rook e8. And obviously it doesn't make sense not to think. You need at a certain point decide, okay, I made the blunder of the century, but what do? I continue, right? So if I continue, I must find a good move, and that's how you should play chess, right? Now, once you have a piece advantage, like in this case, because as we can see, white gained a piece for, here we go, for these two pawns. what do you want to do is to exchange the pieces, right? Because that will give you the advantage you need to win in the endgame. So white continued with queen c7, black plays queen e3 check, king h1, and it seems that here the game is over. Why? Because the black rank is weaker than white's black rank. So after this move, here it gives a line to show us why white wins. There is queen d7, rook g8, rook e8, rook a8, rook takes a8, rook takes a8, e7, h6, knight d6, queen takes f4, but now there is e8, queen, and that's why you should have a set that gives you always two queens, right? Otherwise, like some people did in the old times, they use this, but it's not accepted by FIDE and also USCF. So with this move, white wins. Now the awful block here, obviously, he can show you this, right? Then there is a check, tack, and the game is over, right? So I hope you enjoyed this game number 1 that you find in the latest book by Mr. Lakdawala. That is a great author, and he writes continuously, and it's interesting because it lets you know about Gukesh, this amazing young grandmaster, before the match will start, the match for the World Championship with Ding. I will show you another game from this book, and not the next one, because the next one is a typical Magnus Carlsen game that goes more than 80 moves deep into the endgame, ends up with a draw, luckily, but clearly is for the aficionados of the endgame, right? Instead, we like to see something a little more easy. However, there is another game by Gukesh against Carlsen, in which Carlsen wins in about 51 moves. So that's another one. Now let me, like I said, I will find another good game to show more about Gukesh, because I also would like to know him as a chess player. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and follow me. Thank you.